Hello, today I'm going to talk about the game Vector 3 from SPI from 1979. It's one of their space capsule games. It comes in this book about 8.5 by 5.5. Cover art is nice. I think it definitely shows the modular ships that they're trying to describe. Like with most of their space capsule games, their artwork is done pretty well. So, theme in the back. Warfare in the densely populated Gilgamesh cluster is almost incessant, and befitting their way of life, Gilgamite civilization has developed inexpensive and highly efficient spaceships. Vector 1 ships convey materials from planetary sources to orbit. Vector 2 ships transport material between planets of a stellar system, and Vector 3 ships range through the interstellar lanes. Vector 3 ships, comprising a central cylinder and detachable cargo and cabin pods, are more than simple transports, however. When war threatens, the merchant marines recalled, the cargo pods removed, and the weapons pods are installed. So it's a two-player game. I'm going to try to do it as a one-player, see how it goes. But it's a tactical, space ship combat game. So this is what they call the kind of display, the battle damage like maps. So these are different ships with different pods where you can put various counters showing what's in the pods, and then these are the core elements. So there's the rule book, which typical of SPI games is 4 pages, a lot of information, and that they try to condense in 4, and I think that's done pretty well. And there's, for 2 players, each have these tables. And so there's Newtonian physics or Newton's laws of motion involved. Velocity based affected by acceleration affected by forces. So there's an acceleration table, how you can distribute it, acceleration in different vectors or different components of the vector. There's a probability. And then interestingly, there's a square table, which you need to combine from the different XYZ axis to the total kind of magnitude. Cost of ship components, including pods, cost for technology development for different elements, damage table, so with the lasers and torpedoes to figure out if damage occurs, and if damage occurs, then you see which pods or core elements are destroyed. And then here's the display map, which is, it's two-sided. I'm not sure how that helps anybody, but it shows basically the X and Y coordinates and the Y and Z. So you would put a ship marker, and I'll show some play where it is in X and Y, then where it is in X and Z, and then you move them around. So that's for them. Counters, there's a good mix of counters. So I showed pretty good quantity here. Some of this unique counters then are they have random range. Yes, there's not a dice in it since it's a capsule game, but I was able to find an SPI dice. I'm just going to use that instead of those. These will come in useful though for marking on the battle map I found. And then the other components are, there's main core elements. There are the power, maneuvering, and warp. Those are 4. And then on the pods, some of them are cabins, which they don't markets for but those the ones that aren't cabins would be torpedo bays, lasers, or screens. There's also a tractor presser, which are like tractor beams. So the sequence of play, it's played in game turns. Some are joint at the same time, and some are individual. So it's the joint movement phase. The players actually move their ships and torpedoes according to their velocities. Detonation. The players detonate any mines or torpedoes that they desire and do damage. Joint torpedo. Players may launch torpedoes. Laser combat. Players further ship lasers, apply damage. Tractor pressure phase. Use your ship's tractor pressure beams. Joint burn. Determine if any of their ships or torpedoes will accelerate in that. Sub movement. So basically, it uses Newtonian physics, where the inertia carries over. You have velocity, and then you do burns to accelerate or decelerate your ships in each of the 3 X, Y, Z axes. Scenarios. So generally, the defending player is at 0, 0, 0 anywhere on the board. Then the attacking player will then warp in the start of the game. So in learning, it's 25 technology points and 48 ship points for each. Basic, 60 technology points and 130 for the attacker. Defender, 70 and 110. Mines, unguided torpedoes are not used. Intermediate, which I'll be doing. Attacking is 100 technology points, 200 ship points. Defenders, 120 tech points, 170 ship points. Advanced, 106 attacker, 160 tech points, 300 ship. Defender, 200, 250. All technologies. And apparently this requires 2 copies because there's just so many components involved. Victory, when all players' ships have been destroyed or have left the position displayed. Total each player's victory points. These following schedules. The player with the greater victory point total is winner. In case of the attacking player's schedule, the attacking player receives 5 victory points for each enemy destroyed, 1 for each pie destroyed on enemy undestroyed ship, 10 victory points if there are no defending ships on the position displayed at the end of the game. Defender, 7 victory points for each enemy ship destroyed, 1 for each pie destroyed on an undestroyed enemy ship, 8 victory points if there are no attacking ships on the position displayed at the end of the game. I'll show a setup here before we get into play. So first of all, I'm going to do the intermediate scenario where the attacking player has 100 technology points and 200 ship points. The defender has 120 technology points and 170 ship points. And mines aren't used. So the player, the defender, which will be purple here, will initially place the ships with 0 velocity vectors on the position display as he pleases, and I'll put them basically in the center where they're both on the X, kind of in the middle here. They're a little bit offset on Y, and they're in the same Z plane. The game it'd be handy if it included markers for the actual ships on the board, but it doesn't. So one thing I'm going to do though, which actually uses the counters it has, and I think maybe it works pretty well, is you need an X and X, Y, and XZ. So I'm basically using I want to use they have these number counters that are supposed to be in place of die, since it doesn't have dice with it. So I'm going to use those number counters since I actually have a die. And then similarly for yellow, I'm using to represent the ships like what are actually the laser components, but they kind of look like ships. How this corresponds to here then is that so there's 2 ships for purple, so 1 and 2 will be 3 and 4 here, so it goes sequentially. So then, and then 1, 2, 3 here will be 4, 5, 6 here. So the purple starts where they want, and then the yellow, which is the attacker, will come in, they'll warp in. And I'm just going to have them enter from the bottom of the board here at different, same X, but then at different Y coordinates, and then slightly different Z. So that's what I got going on here. So then as far as the ship goes, so it's a little bit of note taking to do that. Here you have the ship costs and then also the technology costs here. So for the yellow, they're allowed 100 tech points. So I'm going to do 3 acceleration for 30, 3 laser for 20, 2 launch for 10, 1 guided torpedo for 20 technology level. Tractor, tractor pulsar beam 1 for 20. So that's what we got there. And then for the technology on the purple, the Defender, they have 120 points. So it'll be 3 acceleration, 3 laser, 2 launch, 1 guided torpedo again. And they'll have multi-fire, so they'll have 1 multi-fire, or actually 2 multi-fire for a total 20, and then a tractor pulsar 1. So they get the advantage of that multi-fire. And then for components done, the yellow has 3 ships, and you can use up to 200 ship points. So I got 3 ships. One is, like a 6, and then I have 2 12s. The 2 12s each have, you have to pay for the hull of the ship, which is, shown, again, the cost is shown here. So it's 48 for 12 and 16 for 6. And then I have, for each of the 12s, I got 3 lasers, 2 launch ports, a tractor presser, then you have the core elements here. So I basically have 5 torpedoes in one and 4 in the other with those ships. And then for the smaller ship, 2 lasers. The total of all that is 194, which is as close as I could get to the 200, but with doing what I wanted there. I could have gone torpedoes, but I wanted to do lasers on the small one. And then I have 170 ship points on the Defender. So for that, I got two 12 size ships, and they both. So the 12s have 6 cabins, and the 6 has a 4 cabin here. So you got to populate these other ones. So I did the same as I did for the yellow as I did for the purple here. 3 lasers in each, 5, and then 4 torpedoes, and a tractor presser. And it does say you can just mark the torpedo bay with these, and then mark up in your paper how many torpedoes you use. But there are enough of these that I was able to have 1 for each of the torpedoes. So I'll be using these as actually the torpedoes that launch, even though you could just use them to represent the bay. So that's the setup. So I'll kind of get into play here and show you where I'm at. I put up together a simple spreadsheet. You just keep a notepad if you want, but of the velocities, and each turn the velocity will be updated with the burn you do in 3 axes, and that's what I've shown here. So the initial velocity that you move, then the end of the turn you do your burn, and then it updates the velocity next turn for the ships and the torpedoes of yellow and purple. So for purple, since I'm playing against purple and I'm just one person, I kind of I randomized the burns on that, and then each turn I'll just show the one that I pre-populated there. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. So hopefully that makes sense. So I've gone through turn 7, and now I'm about to get into turn 8. And what's happened so far, there's been torpedoes fired, 4 by yellow and 4 by purple. A couple of the yellow torpedoes have been, one has been dead, 1 did damage, a couple are still moving around. And I've indicated those torpedoes by the torpedo marker over the yellow thing there. And obviously the purple player is the torpedo over the purple. In there, it says just indicated with marking on the thing, but I found I can just use these torpedo markers to do that. So purple has launched 4, and a couple of them have done damage, and there's a couple more moving around. Then there's been laser damage as well. So the ships, 1, 2, and 3, which are shown here, 4, 5, 6. They're kind of moving to the middle of the board here. 3's moving off a little bit, and the defenders are kind of spacing themselves a little bit. Damage. So on the smaller ship on yellow, there was a hit, on a cabin here, and then the next hit it went through and it destroyed the warp, so that can't warp out anymore. And also a hit destroyed one of the lasers. On this ship, the cabin was destroyed, and if it hits there again, it'll go through. And here a laser was destroyed, and then it went through and it damaged the warp. And also here a a torpedo was destroyed, and then another hit knocked down the power. And then on ship, third ship here, a laser has been lost. Laser was lost here as well. And then I went through and damaged the warp. On Defender, laser and cam have been hit, warp's been reduced, torpedo's been destroyed, and the power was, reduced. So now we go this next turn. We're in turn 8. And the first step is to join movement. So we have all the movement up here now, and then I'll go ahead and do that. So for the yellow ships, basically from the velocities, it's 200, 200 for 1 and 2, which means they both move up 2 in X, and they do move in Y or Z. And for 3, it's 400, which means it moves 4 up in X, and it doesn't move in Y or Z. And then for the purple ships, so ship 1 was 212, so it moved in X plus 2, Y1, and then Z2. For ship 2 it goes 001, so it just moved 1 and Z. For the torpedoes, prior to their movement, they're set up so the purple are up here in this locations, and the yellows are in these locations. And then after torpedo movement, so torpedo yellow 1 moved 120, 2 moved 210. They ended up here and here. The next Y is here and here. And then the purple goes 100 and 001. So one moves over 1X and the other one moves 1 over Y, 1Z. Remember the purple here and here. And then it's detonation. So if a ship is within detonation range of a torpedo, you can detonate it. And probably not wisely, I choose the tech level of 1, which means it has to be within 1 hex. And I'm pretty close. I mean, this one's within about, if you look at the XYZ, it's probably about 5 hexes if you do the root sum of squares. This one, it's more like 3. Okay, you take the change in x squared plus change in y squared plus change in z squared, take the square root. You can do that in the tables if you want. That's about 3 or 4. This one is about 3. This one's close, but it's a difference of, so it's 2 in z, 1 in x, 2 in y, so it's 2 squared plus 2 squared plus 1 squared, which is 9. Square root of that is 3, so that's beyond its range of 3. So I'm not able to detonate any of those. So hypothetically, if one was in range, you take the tech level minus the distance, so you add 1. So if it was tech level 3, it'd be minus 1, 2. And so if I had tech level 3 here, that'd give me a 1 roll, and I could roll once on the damage table to see what the effect was, and then it would damage a pod, but I don't have a tech level 3, so it doesn't affect it. And then I do the torpedo salvo phase, so each of the launch tubes can launch one, and it'll start on the ship 2 yellow launch, so there goes the torpedo. 3 will launch, purple torpedo, and then torpedo, and then also I'll have to track those. Once they move out, I'll have to track those on the X and Y as well. So it gets to be a bit of bookkeeping to keep track of those torpedoes. And to do that, I'll put these corresponding torpedo markers on the ships. So, and then move them in X and Y and Z and X. So now we go into the laser combat phase. One has, one laser here. Ship 2 is right there. It's let's look at the range first. 2, 1, 4. So it's 2, 1, and 4. So square root 4 squared is 16. 2 squared is 4. So 21. Square root 21. This is 5. And then so we see if it hits. So they have a technology level 3. Range of 5, need a 4 less. 2, so there's a hit. And then see what damage it is. Roll twice. 2, so 8. It's a pod. And then we see which pod is damaged from this table. So it's attacking a 12 pod, so let's roll dice first. It's 2. And then we see if it's 1 to 3 or 4 to 6. 4 to 6. So it's pod 4. Pod 4 is here, which is all right through, so they actually knock the maneuver down 1. So that's going to affect it in the future as far as what it can accelerate. Okay, that was successful. He only had 1 hit, and now number 2 will go, and he'll similarly go against ship 2. And so let's see if he hits. His range is 3, 2, 1. 9 plus 4 plus 1 is 14. Square root of 14 is 4. Technology level 3. 4 less. Nope, miss. And then again. Miss again. So I missed twice. And then ship number 3 only's got 1 laser. They're going to go after this torpedo. 4, 1, 2, 16, 20, 21. Square root 21, 5. Technology level 3. You have 4 less. 1. Okay. And that, since he hit it, it means the torpedo is destroyed. So then purple will go. Purple has 5 lasers. Number 3 is, they want to go after this torpedo. So it's 2, 2, and 3. 9, 13, 17. Square root of 17 is 4. Technology level for purple is 3 as well. And 4 less. Yes, so destroy that torpedo. That's good. And then goes again. This time he's going against ship 3, and it's 3, 1. So they have quite a difference in Y. So 7 in Y. So it's 49 plus 1 plus 9. 59. Square root of 59. 8. So technology level 3. You need 3 or less. Yes. Okay. They will hit it and see what damage it's done. It's 1. So 4. A pod. And see which pod it is. It's a 12. So it's 6. 6. Number 11. So 11 takes out the tractor. And then ship 4 here is going to go against a torpedo. So it's 3, 2, 3. So 9, 18, 22. Let's get rid of that. 5. And they need 4 less. They miss it. They get 2 more shots. They're going to try the torpedo again. Hit it. So they get rid of the torpedo. And they have 1 final shot. They can either go against ship 1 or 2. They'll go against 1. So it's 2, 1, 4. So 16, 20, 21. Square root of 21. 5. 4 less they hit. That's on a That's on a small ship, so that's when you do the damage, you just roll the 1. And pod 5 goes through and takes the power out. And that's all the damage there. And then tractor presser phase. So now you can see if you can do your tractor beams. We'll do one of those. So we'll have ship 2 wants to accelerate ship 2 here by 1 in X to kind of push him away. So make a note of that in here. So he'll accelerate him 1, and I'll note that here to increase the burn. And then he will, as a reacting force, getting back to Newton's laws, he'll be reducing his burn by 1 since he has a reacting force. And then finally, we do the joint burn phase and figure out where we're going to move. And for that, that's already happening there. I'll just keep, I'll move ship 1 yellow, 1 accelerate 1 in Z to, I'll accelerate all these in Z1. So, and actually ship 1 can move. As far as the burn that the purple can do, so their ship, second ship, has that maneuver reduced, so you can only do 1/3 the acceleration. It was already at 2 max, and then the minimum level it can have is 1, so it's at 1. I already pre-plotted, but it's within what I had shown, which is showing 1 there. And that's the end of the turn. And that's how the play goes. And that's Vector 3 from SPI. As I've shown, there's quite a bit of thought about physics and math involved, so if that's not your thing, it's probably not for you. But it's neat how you can build all your ships, and there's a lot of, you try to get reality in the physics, which is interesting, and the fighting's pretty straightforward, so it's definitely tactical. I do wish that it had counters that showed this ship so that I didn't have to figure out a way to use the existing markers to do that. That would add a lot to it. I'll give it a 6.